religion. The purpose of the videos is to get you to think. Turn your brains on and think. Use logic, use reason, and realize that religion is fake. For this video, I want to talk about something I've seen in a video on YouTube. It was a so-called Christian trying to show 10 reasons why Jesus was real. And it's crazy to me how they try to make Jesus real when all the writings about him happened centuries after the so-called fact, which is not a fact, but happened after. Nothing was written during the time he did anything. Everything was said about this character centuries later. And I say character because you only have the 4 Gospels in the Bible, but there were many other Gospels. Many other Gospels, when they did the Council of Nicaea and decided the Nicene Creed and what Jesus would be, then those Gospels had to line up with the creed that they made of what Jesus would be. So the Gospel of Mary and the Gospel of Peter, the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Judas, all of these Gospels and the many other Gospels, they couldn't make it in because they had stories and things that didn't line up with the narrative that the Catholic Church had created for this Jesus character that they wanted people to follow. It was a character, had all these, well, we're just going to pick out a few, and this will be our Jesus character. But anyway, for this video, one of the points that God made to try to say that Jesus was real was they found an inscription where it said, it was chiseled in or whatever, it said Pontius Pilate. Now, for those of you that don't know, you know Pontius Pilate was the prefect in Judea, and he was the one who could say whether Jesus would live or die. And the people kind of pressured him the day before the Passover, depending on which gospel you read, to crucify Jesus. And they pressured him, which you know that wasn't real, because the real Pontius Pilate was a thug, and you wouldn't dare pressure him when he's over you. But anyway, the inscription said Pontius Pilate. So the guy says, see, Pontius Pilate was real, that makes Jesus real. How does one make the other real? Immediately when I heard that, I said, that's foolishness. How does Pontius Pilate being real make Jesus real and then make the Gospels real? That's 2 things you're claiming. First you're saying he's real, so Jesus real. If Jesus real, then the Gospel and the Bible is real, and that's false. Pontius Pilate is real. Watch this. John F. Kennedy is real. Richard Nixon is real. Okay? Forrest Gump met both of them, yet he is not real. Do you understand that? Forrest Gump met these presidents, but yet Forrest Gump is not real. Just because they used a tactic in literature where you add in actual people into a story doesn't make the character in your book real. They just added them in. You see? So Pontius Pilate was real. Herod the Great was real. Caesar Tiberius was real. You know, even I can't remember the other guys' names, the priests in the temple, some of them, they were real. Jesus Christ, not real. Shows up nowhere in history when you look at it. This man where the Bible says a fame arose about him and it went all out. Funny, nobody heard about it in history. Nobody wrote about it. Nobody spoke about him. Nobody mentioned him. They have more mention of other rebels who did the same thing the so-called Jesus did, and they can name them, but they have no recollection of Jesus. And he's supposed to have this huge following. Nobody heard of Jesus. People knew more about Mithraism than they did about Jesus. And if you was back then, you just say, hey, this Jesus character they made is nothing but Mithra. They worshipped in the same temples. They had the same attributes. Jesus was never real. He's not historical. People, oh, there's so much evidence. There is not one drop of evidence to prove Jesus Christ ever existed. You can call him Yahshua, Yahuda, whatever you want to call him. He didn't exist. He only exists in literature, just like today. That's why all these believers, all they can say, oh, you're going to see when he come back. How long have you been saying he'll come back? The man has been dead. If he was alive, he's been dead 1,986 years. And nobody's heard from him since. He showed up on Toast, but nobody's seen him. Nobody's heard from him. He's not coming back. And if you actually read the Bible, he said he was coming back. The people there would see him when he returned. All of them are dead. So guess what? He never existed. Never. Pontius Pilate real, so that makes Jesus real. That's reaching. That's reaching. No Roman records about Jesus. No records anywhere about this man. He never existed. I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that. I have accepted that. And it's actually better that way. It's just time for other people to realize that. So I know most of you watching this, you agree with me. And those of you who are Christians or believers or Hebrew Israelite, whatever it is you are, I know you're upset about it, but the fact of the matter is Jesus isn't real. There's no proof he ever existed. There's no proof now that he's alive. And trust, he's not coming back. First, you got to come the first time in order to come back. He never showed up, so he's not coming back. The closest thing you'll get to the Jesus narrative is go outside and look up at the sun. That's what the book is talking about. That's the sun. The S-U-N is the sun. He comes, I will return, and he returns every morning. You see him. I'm leaving. He leaves at night, returns every morning. That's closest to Jesus you're going to get is the sun, because that's all it's talking about anyway. 12 disciples. They believe the sun is a disc. The 12 disciples, 12 months of the year, 12 zodiacs all around the sun. The sun is the closest to Jesus you're going to get. So the sooner you accept that, the better off you'll be. I'm out of here. Y'all take care. Peace.